Hello, good morning. I thought I would do my first YouTube review of a pair of shoes. I haven't done one of these before, and I thought I'd quite fancy giving it a go. I've seen others do them, and I've been lucky enough to get myself a pair of the Saucony Endorphin Speed 2s. So the Speed 1 is a shoe that people have talked about for the last year and a bit. Shoe of the year from many places. People are racing in these in preference to the carbon plated shoes. They've got the fancy foam. They sell out everywhere pretty much instantly. So I thought, well, I'd quite like to try this. Then they came in stock at Runner's Need, so obviously I paid for them myself. And at Runner's Need, if you've got Vitality, you get a flight, I think it's 15% site-wide discount. So 155 becomes about 130. It's a lot of money for a pair of shoes, but since I've heard so many good things and I am just sort of starting to ramp the truck, I thought I'd treat myself and give them a go. But having done that, I can now see why people love these so much. So I thought, well, I think I've got something to say on this, and I think I can add something a bit useful because they're quite hard to get a hold of. There's not a lot of reviews out there, and I'm not sure how many are any good. So what did I think of them? Yeah, I mean, I can see why people love them. These are great. These are lovely to run in. This Endorphin series speed, blah, 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 with the Speedroll technology. And I think that's what it is. When you run in these, you roll really nicely. It helps you go from one foot to the next. It does feel like you're on wheels. So they're not giving you the crazy bounce that you'll get from a Vaporfly, but they're just really comfortable and they get you rolling. And I find myself reaching for them for every run. It's really easy to do a review of this. I've only had them 2-3 weeks. I've already put on about 50-60 miles to them because you can do anything in them. Easy run yesterday, just legs are a bit tired, do it in speeds. Got a long run at the weekend, it's like, well, I'm going with somebody else. It's probably going to be quite quick. Actually, I think I'd like to do it in the speeds. I did a session in them last week. I wouldn't do that again. I'll talk about that in a minute. But I think they really are a great do-it-all shoe, and they just feel good. So when do they feel good? Pretty much all the time. I think the difference to the carbon plated shoes is you can run and you can jog in these. I find that in a Vaporfly, if you've run a Vaporfly, they don't feel great. If you're going above about 7:30 a mile, you sort of feel a bit wobbly and they pivot a little bit and you're a bit janky. I didn't get that with these. I went for a recovery run, you say yesterday I think it was. I came back to like 8:11 a mile, 8:12 a mile, pace doesn't matter, it's a recovery run. They felt good, they felt good the whole way. So when people are racing in them, now I get it. Because if you're not hammering it in a Vaporfly, if you're not going below 7 minutes certainly, probably below 6 minutes a mile, they're not going to feel that great, whereas these just feel lovely. They're not heavy, so I weighed these, size 10.5 UK, and I came out at 246 grams compared to 225 for a Vaporfly. But I don't know if Vaporfly is the right comparison, because these are much more all-round. I wouldn't want to do most of my runs in a pair of Vaporflies. I have done many runs in them, but I wouldn't choose to. These could do anything. So you could go for a general run, yeah, great, and so that goes into that racing side where if you're running a 25-minute park run, 5k, 25 minutes, 8 and a bit, actually this is probably a better choice. If you're doing a marathon and it is even a fairly quick one, kind of 3.5 hours, 3 hours, certainly I think this is 3.5 probably a better choice. At 3, an even choice with a kind of carbon plated. Again, I keep saying Vaporfly. I've got the Brooks. I've got tried the New Balance. So I've tried quite a few of them. This is probably a better choice. When didn't it work for me? I did my session. I did 12 by a minute on, minute off, and yes, they felt nice when I was really rolling through. So the pace, I think I averaged 5-minute miling on the 1 minutes. Yes, they felt good from seconds 20 to 50, maybe even 60, where you're kind of rolling along. But in accelerating, they did feel a little bit squidgy, and I did feel that I've tried doing a few strides in them. I didn't love them when I was going really quick. So yes, they are all round, but they don't, for me, replace a pair of flats, or they wouldn't work for sessions. They're great, and I absolutely can see why people love them. But I don't think they do everything. So I don't tend to look at shoes as, is this like a good shoe or a bad shoe? Is it a buy or a not buy? Is it good for what you want to use it for, or what is it good for? And I think that's probably a better way to look at this than simply is it good or bad. Well, yeah, they're really good, sure, but what for? When would I use this? Would I use this? Would this go into my shoe rotation? The answer is yes, it will. They're too expensive really to be doing my sort of casual miles, and I'll pick up a pair of cheap trainers. Usually it's when I like the Derby Runner, our local running shop, they'll have a stall at a race, when, if you remember what races were before COVID, and I'll pick up some cheap shoes that are my size to do my daily miles in. There's no need to be spending a lot of money when I'm just going out for a 6-mile plod. But then later today I've got a 10-mile medium long run. This is the one that I want to wear for it. It just really, really works. Where else would I use it? If I've got a long run with stuff in it. So in a marathon training block, I often get set things like 17 miles with 3 by 10 minutes at marathon pace. I can't think of anything better to be doing that in these, because they're going to be nice to run in, and then when you want to pick it up, oh, they can absolutely pick it up. So they're not giving you the whole boost that you get and the whole expense you get from the carbon plated shoes, but they're just really good. So they will happily sit in my running shoe rotation, and I will break them out. So what will they replace? They'll actually replace a pair of Vaporfly, but not a new pair. What we're talking about here is my pair that are held together by glue, that are really looking quite worn and battered. They've done about 250 miles by now. I think I tracked the miles, so I think it's 250, 260, and it shows there's no magic bouncing left in there, but they have got the nice roll still. So for me, I'll probably finish these off, do another 30, 40 miles. They're basically falling apart. The plate's trying to liberate itself. That's not a good sign. So I'll do another 30, 40 miles in these, put them in the bin, and then these can replace them full time. But even then, I'm going to start to use them already, because they're just really nice. So I can absolutely understand the hype. Saucony have done a great job. Are they perfect? No, they are not perfect. They feel light, they are light, they could be lighter. And the durability is good, but it could be a bit better. So they've got this, you know, nice symmetrical pattern on the bottom, and you've got this kind of lovely bit all, but stop a second, Saucony, why? What kind of animal uses the rubber here? How would you actually use that? This is weight that isn't needed. The rubber is kind of one of the heaviest parts of this, so you could get rid of that. I mean, they deliberately put a bit more here, because if you're going to heel strike, you're going to do it on the outside, you land like that. You're not going to do it on the instep, and you're certainly not going to do it up here. So this bit is just all really unnecessary. You could lose all of that, add a bit more up here. Equally, people are more likely to land on the outside of the foot than the inside of the foot. You'll find it, people don't do that. They land there, or they land midfoot, or flattish. So there's equal amounts all the way across, but there doesn't need to be. You kind of want a bit more on the outside, where especially people like me that don't run brilliantly will land. They've done about 50 miles. You can already see the wear towards the front. So they are durable, but they're not perfect. So yes, they're great. I absolutely do recommend them, but I don't think that they are completely without flaw. I think they could be improved. One thing that probably is worth saying though is these are really sticky. I saw this sort of thin zigzags, I guess, for lack of a better word. There's not a whole lot of rubber coverage. If you look at that, you can see that compared to other shoes, I've got the Vaporfly here, there's not as much rubber on there. These feel so planted. You go around a corner and it's slightly damp. They feel amazing. I sort of was really struck by how grippy they felt, which was a surprise. I don't expect that. It's very, you don't tend to notice it. Shoes are either, if they're not fine, you'll notice, but these stuck out as being really great. So that was nice. So who are they for? Who would I recommend them for? If you only buy one pair of shoes at a time and you kind of use those till they're worn out, very good choice actually. But I think you should probably buy a second pair. I don't think it would hurt to pair these with something like Adidas Supernova, just a general all-around daily trainer. Then your faster stuff, you know, races, park runs, should be coming back soon. You could pair this with those and it would go very nicely as a 1-2 combo. Let's take it a bit more seriously. You train a few times a week, you've got 3, 4, 5 pairs of shoes. Yeah, sure. This is a great one to add in there. So your faster work, your tempo runs, you'd absolutely want to do in this. You can do your daily miles and something else. Reebok Flow Red Energy, brilliant shoe. I'll talk about those another time, I think, because they're just so good and cheap. But this, would you say, for your faster stuff and for your races? okay, now you're training quite seriously, you're training most days of the week and you've got a time target, so that might be a 50-minute 10k. Well, yeah, this could be your fast shoe and this could be your racing shoe. I still think at this point you probably want to add in a pair of flats for your fast intervals, which you should be doing. So anything that's, I guess, when would I put it? I mean, what paces? I didn't think it felt great at 5:30 and below, probably. I think it felt fine up to that. 5:40 certainly fine. So I think if you're doing maybe 3-minute reps and below, I'd be wearing my Adidas Takumi Ren sort of training flats. I'd probably recommend those over these for that kind of thing. So you'd want a pair of flats still for your fast stuff, or if you do go to the track, we don't have one that close to us. There's one that's 8 miles away, but with kids it's hard to get to. So I'd say, yeah, absolutely, if you're training a lot with a time target, this could be a legit choice for your race as well. You wouldn't necessarily need to go to the carbon ones because this might be a better choice. Maybe try it and compare it to it. And then let's take it beyond that to sort of, yeah, my level, yeah, absolutely, where you've got a decent time, but you're not that great. So you're looking at a 2:45, 2:30, whatever marathon. This is a part of your training. This is great. For your medium long runs, they don't batter your legs. I mean, that's the benefit of the modern super shoes, right? Is the squishy foam. You feel tired after you've done something, but you don't feel battered. And that's a big difference. Feeling battered the next day is hard when you've got to get up and then do another 5 and then another 5. And then after that, you've got a session. These just help that recovery. Well, they don't help the recovery. You don't need to recover as much because you're not as ruined after doing a run in them. So for those, yeah, absolutely has a place. I mean, are they so good that you're going to see elites spray painting / felt tipping out the sort of logos? No, they're not that good. They're really nice, and if you're a Saucony sponsored athlete, you're going to be super happy that you get to run in these, but they're not so good that you're going to see the sort of New Balance or Nike athletes secretly getting a pair like you see with the cyclists with Rafa kit and just taking the labels off it. So there you go. I think these are an excellent choice. I'm really impressed with them. Very glad I did try them out. They're everything I wanted them to be. I did buy the Brooks Hyperion Tempo. They weren't as good as this. They were as expensive, but they weren't as good. They just didn't have the lovely roll. They had the spring, but not the roll. The Nike Alpha Fly Tempo or Vaporfly Tempo, whatever it's called, the Tempo Next Percent, the AirPods, they're a bit flatter than this. They're not quite there. Adidas have got a whole range of stuff now with Light Strike Pro Foam. It's got Light Strike. It's awful. I had a pair of RC2s, didn't enjoy those, so I won't be buying any more Adidas till they improve their foam a bit more. So I can't really see anything else that this compares to as well. I mean, in its class of fast training shoe, I think it's probably about the best you've got. The alternative really is an old pair of racing shoes that you can just, once they've done their 120, 100, whatever it is going to be of hard miles, you can just relegate them to training. So you don't have to buy a pair, obviously, that's what I'm saying, but they do have a place if you don't have a whole supply of these. So yeah, good job Saucony, and I would absolutely recommend people do at least consider them. So hopefully that was useful, and I think what's it supposed to smash them likes. I don't know, I've never done this before, and if this was good, if you're interested, then hit subscribe. Maybe I'll do some more videos, maybe I won't, but could be fun. So let's give it a go and let's see what else we've got, and yeah, keep on running.